in terms of jungle, there is nothing difficult about playing jungler. Like, you can get to the highest level of almost every single jungler. There's, like, very few exceptions. Like, for example, Rengar is an exception, and then, like, Nidalee and other champs. But most junglers are so straightforward, number-based, and there is nothing, like there's nothing a good player don't know about that champion playing in 10 games. There's no, like I don't it's harder to be like, you can't tell me that I don't know how to play Xin Zhao because you played 3 times and then you know almost everything. And then there's, like, the idea how, um, I don't know if you can say, but, like, how, autistic and, like, insanely nerdy are you about League to know, like, all these insane, what was it called? Like, when 2 champs are playing against each other and what happens, and, like, well,
Matchups,
what happens if Gragas is,
interactions.
yeah, interactions, there it is. Like, all these niche interactions. That's the only thing that's difficult, but, like, there is no laning in jungle. So, there's no this, like, "Oh, when he goes for this minion, I need to do this because I'm playing this matchup." There's none of that in jungle. There's like, "Oh, this matchup, you can do these things." But most of the time, the things you're doing is based on the champs you have on your team that you're playing for. So jungle is very, very easy to learn in terms of champion mastery if you're like, already a good player and you know everything. And like playing Rengar for thousands of games and all the other champs, because also that's the thing, like when I was at my highest one trick pony like status, I had 50% of my games on Rengar. That is not a one trick. Like that is very much so not a one trick. Most of the like I played so many different champs. I played different roles even, but it's just that you get branded as something and then you just branded as it for a very long time.
I think what makes it confusing, because to give my perspective on this, I think that I never thought you were one trick when you played, because it was like I would watch you play Lee Sin and Scrims, or like Olaf. There was a time where you played that a lot, even Gragas, like we talked about that, and there was other champions you play, and you'd be proficient enough on them when we'd play against like good teams, like we'd play like LFL teams or like Spanish teams, German teams, and you would do well against like some big names. But I think it's the gap between like on Rengar and on like Mundo now, for example. Obviously, you weren't playing as
Oh,
much
for
Mundo.
sure, there's a difference. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, it's like a major difference, I would say.
yeah.
In that like I think most champs you can play to like a proficient level to where you can compete against most people, but it's like on those champs you're like elite category. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I guess it's that golf that makes people look at you and go, oh yeah, he's good, but like imagine if all of his champions were elite category, or like he had
But
like
it's just
five or
like,
six champions that were elite category.
I mean, I can't. But I see what you're saying, but it's less of the idea that I'm bad at other things, and I'm just so much better at these two things than I am at anything. And not I like I've genuinely I try to like put myself back and humble myself, but I've always had the idea of myself that I'll play anything. Like I don't like I always had this playing league my whole league career. I've always just picked things that I think are good. And like I'll play something on stream even today and they'll be like, "Why you're trolling?" And then I'll just do it well and I'm like, "Bro, I'm playing the game. I played league for God how knows like 12 years now. I've seen every champion played at every stage of the game for how many times in a row. Bro, I can play most champs and I can play even most roles now. It's just like people will always have this is the only thing I'm like kind of triggered about, but it's just so to me it's just so ridiculous. But at the same time, I also like take myself back. Like obviously there's gaps of knowledge. Like for example, when you said Gragas, like I should not have been allowed to play Gragas. My Gragas stinks, bro. I can't play that champion. But
You did horrible things to that kid. That kid plays in, I think he was on Zero Tenacity, the guy you jungled against in that series.
yeah, yeah,
Zubac, I think he probably has nightmares because you absolutely brutalized him over the course of that series. It was not pretty.
it was bless his heart.
Bless his heart.
It's
What?
it.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry. Can I? This is actually because I was thinking about Gragas and like the problem with Gragas is that there's so much potential. So if you're not living up to the potential, you're seen as bad. Like if you can't flash do some crazy combo, you haven't played it properly. And I think that's the thing. Like I don't know how other junglers think. I guess I don't know. Most I haven't talked to a lot of junglers that are like I'm thinking now like LEC and yeah, I guess LCK and like pro players. But there's always like this. Like I'll watch the Dome and I'll watch Cadro, and it's like no one can pick Kiana. No one knows how to play this. champion. There's only Tarzan that knows how to play this champion, and like maybe one other jungler in the whole world. And I think a lot of that has to do with like being able to like have the confidence and no nerves on stage to be like, I'll just fucking send this flash E ult, no questions asked. And a lot of people won't do that because they're like, what if I miss it? And if they do miss it, they look stupid. But in League, it's like you have to just kind of like a lot of times you have to send it. You gotta just send it.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a triggering question. If Mundo and Rengar are not on the table for you, you can't play them, what's the highest rank you think you can achieve, both in Europe and Korea?
This is this is this is a good question. This is a good question because I've like thought about this and I've like been like thinking if I should try to do both for stream, but also there was even before Korea, I had an account that was like no Rengar, no Mundo, and I was like, I'm gonna try to get as high as possible. Um, but then I went to Korea, so it ended. But like I've always thought about doing all these things. The thing is, I don't think rank one would be hard, but it's also like when you look at like you look at like people that got in rank one, there's some like most of the time what they do is they will have like 3 champions that they will just play every game no matter what. And that's just the best 3 champions in the meta. So like there's very few people in League in general, especially people at the highest rank, and I'm talking solo queue obviously. They don't do all these random niche stupid shit, and they don't play like there's this idea that like, oh, you can play like they'll play this champion one game, this champion next game, but people don't do that. When they're going rank 1, like they will play one champion or two, like if they're banned or not being able to pick it that game. Like that's what they do. Like looking at the best example of this is now when I was going in Korea. Because to be honest, in EU I haven't even looked at the leaderboard. I don't really care too much. But when I was going rank one in Korea, that sounded egoistical, but I'll explain it. But when I was going for rank one in Korea, because that was my goal, so I was like looking at all the people playing. It's like I think it was DK Sharvel. He's a jungle player, and he would just play Kiana every game. Only Kiana. If Kiana is banned, Silas. Or like he play Lee Sin. Like he goes Kiana every game, no matter what. You look at the if any KC fans, the was a Yahoo guy, um, insane player, mid laner, very very good player. I think I saw him on Aurora almost every single game. I saw him on Galio a few times and Oriana. But like people have this idea that people are playing ba 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 ba. And like even like looking at EU people when I was playing, so I got rank one before I went to Korea in EU, and I was fighting, I guess, competing against 113, the Turkish jungler that played for BDS before. But basically, he would only play Viego. Every game he would pick Viego. Like when you're going for these elite tier ranks in solo queue, most of the time you're playing 1 to maybe 5 champions, and a lot of times the people that are playing more champions are laners. Whereas if you're not a laner or a jungler, you're probably picking almost 1 champion every single game. And that's just because it's the easiest way to climb. And also you're playing probably a good ass champion when you're doing that. But to answer your question, I don't think like I mean I would have to try, but I don't know if I would ever try to do it. It would have to be, and the reason I say that is because there's no like people want to watch me play Rengar, and I've always had this idea, so I don't really have the ambition to play other champions to that level. And
You know
sometimes
where
I
I
do
think
it
you'd
for
get?
fun. Yeah, go for it.
I think without your Rengar, back to Platinum where you belong.
Oh, okay. That's a crazy one. That's a crazy one. No, that's funny.
I feel like
That is
I understand what you're saying, but you are dodging the question a little bit. Like, what champions would you play if it wasn't Mundo and Rengar? You have to pick those 3. Would it just be you played
Oh,
Meta, or
to be fair, now I would get rank 1 as well because I'd pick Silas Kiana. Those are the 2 most broken champs, and
you,
I play them really well.
you
Like,
think you'd get
I'll
rank? You
get
think you'd
rank
get
1.
rank? You
Yeah,
think you'd get
100%.
rank 1 on this on career as
100%.
well?
I did it in Korea. That's basically what I played.